All right. I think the last thing I want to do is improve the onboarding workflow. So when we first sign into a new account, we see it's generated our next week's meal plan and we can edit the weekly template. But one of the issues is by default, when they come in here and they go to select a meal, I think this is pretty intuitive, but there's leftovers, dining out, order in, or no meal planned. And if it's not one of those, then what I want to do is provide a link for the user to. I want to provide a link for the user to up or be able to add a new meal. So let's try that and see if we can make that work. Oh, this is a meal form. So we have that here, and I think I remember this being a thing where I can do testing. Nope, that's not going to work. So what I need to be able to do is I need to figure out how do we have a help block. Ah, yeah, there we go. So all right, so here's how we do it. It's a little bit, the syntax is a little different than what I remembered, but here we go. There we go. So I can just add a note. If you haven't added this, if you need to add a new meal, you can do that. If you don't see the meal you'd to select, link to add a new meal. So if you don't see the meal you'd like to select, add a new meal. All right, so they can do a new meal detail. It's going to be craft dinner. Recipes included in this meal. And so in that case, we also would like to copy this help text example and go to the form for a recipe. And so if they are, oh, sorry, on a meal. So let's see if that works on that partial. It does. However, there seems to be a bug with that feature where it's coming up here again. So I'm going to have to debug that. All right, so let's see if we can fix that select partial. This is not so this, what this should do is clear out the help block after it has, so has many through. Yep, that worked. So that was a framework bug. And this is a bit of a, not my, I mean, I don't love the code in this partial, but we will want to put that in the text field. And that's a different, yeah, that's different. So anyway, we'll take a look at this later. So we've got that. We've got that fixed. If you don't see the recipe, so that's what we want to say there. Add a new recipe. And then the last thing that I want to do is make it so that it would be nice if after that recipe was created, if it would take us back to where we came from. So I want to come back here, new meal details, and in order to do that, we have this after new recipe. So now when they add a new recipe, you'll see up here that they have the after new recipe. And then I want to, in the form for the recipe, all right. Hidden field tag. In fact, to test it, what you can do is text field tag. So you can see that the value is coming across. We don't need it as a hash apparently. Text field tag. So there it is, still recording it. And if we try to submit, actually, what we can do, I'll be curious actually to see if we can get that, how do we get that through strong params. So we've included it, that's good. When we submit it on the recipe controller, def create, so when we've created it, let's see what happens here. Oh, I can choose to write, so I can just access it directly. That works for me. Recipe was successfully created. So now it's there. Great. And we want to do the same thing for the meal. Add a new meal. So what did we call that thing? So on the meal form, called it the afternoon recipe. Sorry, afternoon meal. Request current. Request URL. No, path. So we'll do the same thing in the form. In fact, actually, I thought that I would have to namespace this differently than I did, but actually we can just do this. I could make this part of the default code generation. I'll do it this way for now, but I have an idea for how we can implement this. So after new meal, and then in the meal controller, similar to the recipe controller, so I'll do it like this. Oh, I have a syntax error in the other one. So either go to the after new recipe. In fact, I'm just going to change this. All right, I think this is going to work. So now when we go back to the week of December 11th, our meal plan, I'm going to select a new meal, and it says, what meal do you want to eat? If you don't see the meal, you can add a new meal. And it came up with an error. So a bad one too. Let's take a look at this. Oh, really bad. It is a syntax error. In what file? In the meals controller. So what did I break? I broke Here we go. You can see that it has that in place, but I'm going to end up adding a new recipe. Whoops. So I'm going to add a new recipe. The recipe was created, but when it redirected us back to this URL, that didn't work the way that I expected it to. So let's try this again. From here, when I add a new meal, I expect to see, it's because we're using request path, but path with URL params. It's not including the URL parameters, which is the problem. Rails. Dun, dun, dun. Full path, apparently. Okay. So on the form, and then on this form as well. So here we go. Let's go to the dashboard. I want to add a new meal. I'm wasting time here, but I need to add a new recipe. Soup serves 4. It's good. Canned. And now when I come back, I can say, okay, great. I want to include the soup. Great soup meal. It's for dinner. And then I can go back. And now when I go to select a meal, I can select the great soup meal. It worked. Only thing left is to make these a hidden field instead of a text field. And I am definitely going to make that a standard framework feature. That should be a lot easier than it is. So there we go. Works great. And if we go back, one last check. There we go. Oh, that's fantastic. All right, so I think we're done. And I'll be totally honest, I think I can launch this into production. I'm going to do maybe one more video to show how we update the logo and maybe the name of the app. And then I think I'll take the time to push it into production. All right, thanks.